Hello everyone, my name is JSRP and you're watching Kalakar Makerspace videos. In this video, we will see how I built this food dryer. But first, what is a food dryer? Let's understand that and how I built it in this video. During the lockdown period, many people learned technologies and many other things. But I wanted to go back to the basics, and that's why on my left side you can see I have a vegetable garden right now, and I built a food dryer. With everything going online and we can order food at any time, I wanted to go back to the basics. And this is something that I learned during the lockdown period. So let's begin the build. Here I have cut some pieces and kept, and these are 12 MDF. Again, these are leftovers from the CNC machine that we work on. We make jalis and these are leftover pieces. Here Shiva is putting the pieces together. We have three pieces in the middle and two on the sides. The whole purpose of having a middle piece is that if we have two different types of grains, then we will be able to separate them. And of course, the middle piece will give some amount of rigidity. And to put this together, we are just going to use some screws and Fevicol. And I know this is MDF and this is a food dryer which is going to be in the sun, but MDF lasts really well if there is no water damage on top of it. So, and because we are going to use it in summer, this will not be a problem. So before drilling the holes inside MDF, we have to pre-drill it. So we pre-drilled it with a 3 drill bit, and then we are using some galvanized screws to screw in. Here we are fitting the centerpiece. To fit the centerpiece again, I have already marked the exact center point with a pencil mark, and we're just putting it together again with some screws. This centerpiece will add rigidity later when we are actually putting the wire mesh at the bottom. This is a small trick that I use. Using the driving bit, we can make a countersink hole, and then that will help the head of the screw fit inside the body very easily. This is a mesh that I bought from the window hardware store. This is used to keep the mosquitoes out. It is not really minute, but it has some amount of gap inside. I wanted to go with a mesh rather than a cloth or any other design, and the size of the mesh really matters because it shouldn't let any big bugs or worms come inside. So this mesh worked really great, and of course this is again galvanized steel, so this will last for quite some time. And to put this together, all we have to do is stretch the mesh and then start stapling it at very regular intervals. I used to keep an interval of just 2 inches, but then as you feel that the mesh is sagging, you just keep pulling it and keep punching the staples inside. And of course here we are sealing the center part also so that the mesh doesn't sag over there. It gives enough rigidity. That's why the centerpiece was necessary. On the corners, we're just folding it with the hand. This is very thin. I think it must be around 2 or something, the thickness of the mesh. So it was very easy to just fold it with the hand. So Shiva is going ahead and folding it with the hand, and then we will be able to staple it to the sides as well. This will help retain the tension in the mesh so that when you add any heavier items like 4 or 5 kilos of grains, still the dryer will work and it will not sag and touch the floor. So I'm going ahead and stapling the entire mesh all around and making it really tight because this is one time and it's done. Here we have some white PVC cut using our jigsaw. This shape that you see, which looks like a U, is called as a parabolic shape, and it is very important for this food dryer. A parabolic shape reflects the light inside, and that is the reason we went with this U shaped. And we cut some more pieces from the same material. This is again strips of white PVC, and we can put that together again with bond or cyanoacrylate are interchangeable names, so you can go ahead and buy this solution from the hardware, and it works really well with PVC and acrylic. In the parabolic shape, just to give rigidity, we are attaching three pieces, one to the top and two to the sides, and this parabolic shape will form the top portion of the dryer. Previously you saw the mesh and the MDF forming the bottom piece of the dryer, and this one is going to be the top piece. As you see, it is really 44 inches long or 44 inches high, we can say, and these centerpieces offer enough rigidity. The centerpieces are again made with the 18 mm PVC, just for somebody who is curious. And we went with PVC because this is going to be an outdoor project and I don't want to use any material that is going to rot with sun. And PVC is really right. So if our family members want to use this as well, it will not be difficult for them to lift it off and change the grains as it dries. So here's Deva taking the piece and want to show you how it fits inside. Here Shiva is cutting the polycarbonate sheets. These sheets are used as roofings in commercial projects where you have seen this translucent type. I took the clear one rather than the translucent one, and you can see these have a little bit of gaps to let air ventilation inside. I really loved this, and ever since I saw this material I wanted to use it for the dryer. And this can be easily cut with just a razor knife. So here he is cutting it in the cross grain, so it is a little bit difficult, but when you cut it along with the grain, along with the lines in the polycarbonate, it is very easy. You have to cut a few times to get a clean cut. So once it is cut, it comes off very easily, and you can see the entire sheet over here. So we first cut it to the length. We have first cut it to 44 inches. Now he can make the strips. This polycarbonate sheet is a little bit difficult to bend, so we have to cut it in strips and then put it on the parabolic shape. The parabolic shape U design has a very acute angle, and this will not bend to give the entire shape. So we have to cut it in strips, and that's what Shiva is doing right now. Here he is marking it to form the U shape. Both the ends have to be covered. The food dryer works in such a way that it has to contain the heat inside, because it attracts the heat because it's a translucent transparent material, but then inside it has to store the heat, and that is why we have to cover all the sides. And the best way is to just trace the lines and then mark it and then cut it. We are going to use again galvanized steel, so with a little bit of a small washer to attach it to the PVC board. So once the sides are done, we are going to put the long pieces. The long pieces can go on the end grain of the PVC sheet, and you can see we are just screwing it. We are not using bond or any glue. And the washer is going to actually keep the polycarbonate sheets from snapping back. If you use a screw, the head has to be really big, otherwise use a washer. At the top we cut smaller thinner strips and overlapped one on top of the other, and you can see here the final product. The final product is totally covered. Even if you pour water on top of this food dryer, it's not going to go inside. And this took up a lot of place in my balcony, but it has turned out to be really good. It dries food really very fast, and I just love it. On the front part, I actually made a small design change. This is again PVC sheet, but because I have a CNC machine, I put it on the machine and made this design, and I put it up there so that there is a little bit of air ventilation. To put it to test, I have bought some turmeric, I don't know, pods we call it, and these one are actually hybrid ones because the native desi ones are not this big. I want to actually make my own turmeric powder. So first the process begins where you actually boil it. So here I'm taking around 4 kgs of turmeric. This is actually 2 kgs, but I did a 2 batch, so you're seeing just 2 kgs. And once you boil it, you actually let it boil for just 5-10 minutes because it has to be dried very quickly. And once it cools down, I cut the pieces and then dried it for a couple of days. Well, actually we have to dry it for 5 to 7 days, but what you're seeing is the result of just after 2 days. The food dryer actually worked really good, and it dried these items really fast. If I have kept something just directly on the sun, it wouldn't have shrunk so much, but inside the dryer you can see such huge pods were shrunk like anything. The first basic thing that we use in any food is turmeric, and turmeric has a compound called curcumin, which helps cure cancer. And this is something that I have read, that people remove it from the turmeric powder that we buy from the stores, and then that comes to us. Right now, I'm sitting next to the food dryer, and because it's totally dry, constantly I'm getting a good fragrance from this, which I have almost forgotten when I use the powder turmeric which we buy from the shop. The good thing about the food dryer is it's going to do its work even if you're not. You just keep it out, and the sun is going to do its work. So the whole point is you should build one for your home, and even if you have a small balcony, then it is a definitely must build. The top is actually made of polycarbonate and PVC material, which is, of course, if you keep it in rain, it's not going to rot. But of course, the base is MDF. But during the summer period, this is going to be really useful. I don't think I will be able to dry anything over here in Pune when it is actually raining, because if you are from any part of Maharashtra, you know that once it starts raining, it's going to be totally wet, and we cannot see even sun a few days. So I built this for the summers, and starting summer right now, I think it's going to be really, really helpful. I know that this is a small step, but I think it's a step in the right direction. Thank you for sticking around till the end of this video, and I hope to see you in my next videos. And if you build this, please let me know in the comments. Until next time, happy learning.